Today I'm going to talk about beef, bikes, and why the price of small European motorcycles may soon double. First off, I apologize for the relatively low quality of this particular video. I'm just shooting this on my phone to get it out there quick because it is rather time sensitive, as you'll see. So in their infinite wisdom, the Office of the United States Trade Representative has proposed a 100% tariff on motorcycles imported from the European Union with an engine size between 51 and 500 cc's. That's a lot of bikes. I'm going to save us all the trouble of me rambling down a long list and just throw it up on the screen in front of my face here, because you don't really want to see my face anyway, do you? I gotta shave, don't I? Notice that British bikes are not on this list. This is the first good thing I've ever heard about Brexit. Why is this happening? Well, it's because they're butthurt because the European Union doesn't want to import American beef from cattle raised on growth hormones, which has absolutely nothing to do with motorcycles. The only time I know of when beef and bikes ever mixed was the infamous Yummy Noob, Do It With Dan, and Jake the Garden Snake beef, which has long since been put to rest. It's a little-known fact that the U.S. has a long history of slapping ridiculous taxes and tariffs on stuff out of spite for completely unrelated things. You may or may not have heard of the chicken tax. It was a retaliation for Europe accusing the U.S. of flooding their markets with cheap chickens after World War II. So we put a 25% tax on a bunch of imports to the U.S., including light trucks. This happened in 1963, which gave American truck manufacturers a monopoly on the market. It was the only way they could sell their shitty trucks to us in the 70s and 80s. They had no competition from the Japanese or the European companies. And this remains in effect today, which is why Toyota trucks are all made in American factories on U.S. soil. It was the only way to get a piece of the American pie. Some other truck manufacturers take some crazy measures to get partly built trucks into the country, then finish construction here so that they're technically American made. But I digress. This tariff, if it goes through, will only hurt the American motorcycle industry, not help it. Dealers of European motorcycles won't be able to sell their sub 500cc motorcycles anymore at twice the price, which will hurt American businesses. Dual sports in particular are going to suffer from this because those are the most popular small engine size bikes out there. KTM alone sold nearly $150 million in sub-500cc motorcycles in the U.S. in the first 11 months of 2016. During that same time, all of Japan's manufacturers combined sold a total of $165 million worth of these bikes. That's how huge KTM is as an importer in the small motorcycle category. Oh, but this will help American manufacturers, just like the chicken tax helped American truck manufacturers, right? Well, no, because unlike the American light truck industry, there is only one US-made bike in this category, and that is the Harley-Davidson Street 500. The smallest Indian is the Scout, which has a 1000cc motor, and Victory, well, they're not around anymore. So who really wins in this fight between the US and Europe? The Japanese, of course. And this leaves a huge opening for Chinese manufacturers to fill. Can't afford a KTM with a 100% tariff? Why not buy a Chinese Hawk 250? It's not as good, but at least you don't need a second mortgage to afford one. Who loses? America! Fuck yeah! Dealers won't be able to sell the smaller European bikes, and we won't be able to afford them. Motorcycles under 500 cc's are also the best bikes for new riders, and we may be about to lose a huge selection of them. Fortunately, Japanese bikes won't be affected, and I always recommend that new riders buy a used bike for their first one so they won't cry over the first scratch or the first time they drop it, so it's not the end of the world for new riders. And also, KTM will be hurting, because of course it makes perfect sense to punish an Austrian motorcycle manufacturer because the European Union doesn't want our gross hormone-filled beef. Completely logical, right? If you're an AMA member, you've probably already gotten some emails about this with information on how to make your voice heard and object to this ridiculous proposal. Just in case you haven't, I'll leave a link in the description. The deadline for comments is January 30th. That's just a few days from when I'm going to be posting this the night of January 27th. So if you see this before then, click the link in the description, go over there, and give them a piece of your mind and tell them why this is a bad idea. If you see this after January 30th, well, never mind. But for everyone's sake, let's hope this idiotic bill doesn't pass.